Sengoku Japan is one of those settings that I find myself enchanted by, and I know that many others fall under its spell too, and that spell can be sent forth in so many different locations. Classic samurai films, the actual history, anime, books, video games, and more. But within Sengoku video games, it feels like they're almost always focused on the large battles of the period. And if not that, then certainly it is set around a more fantastical side story. But very few games allow you a conceivable one-man story. The day-to-day life in the period, the struggle a simple person like a peasant, foot soldier, or Ronin would experience. The clamor and chaos, intense, small-scale fights, scavenging and struggling for status and pay, and the confusing question of allegiance. After all, how do you choose which faction to join when there are so many banners to fall under that an entire field could be shaded with them? What a wish fulfillment a game with that focus could be. But wait. That wish has been granted, that game does exist, and it is called Way of the Samurai 3. Way of the Samurai 3 is a life sim, but not the kind you're picturing. It's also an RPG that is heavily story-focused and completely freeform, with the ability to do whatever you want. It also has an emphasis on replaying the game through New Game Plus. Now, I have mixed feelings on New Game Plus. I often find that the enjoyment that I get in replaying a game is to rebuild a power level, rather than continue on with what I already had. It is a rarity for a game to pull it off in a way that I enjoy, but let me tell you, Way of the Samurai has one of the best New Game Plus systems I've ever experienced, and a drive to want to play the game through time and time again. As this game, that is deceptively small at first glance, features 22 distinct paths and 28 distinct endings. And all of them are influenced by very small details, as well as big choices. A complex chart of checkmarks and X's. If the player joined this faction or betrayed another one, if they met this person at this place in time, if they ran away from a fight or surrendered when they otherwise would have had to win, if they killed a major character who would otherwise be in a cutscene, and so many more. It is a tapestry of choices that is being weaved moment by the player. All these things and so many more make Way of the Samurai 3 feel so lived in. Every character feels like an actual denizen of the world, and you can encounter them all in different places at different times of day. Their opinions too shift by your actions, from the basic foot soldier to the main character, both due to your actions in the story as well as how you treat them personally and their friends and enemies. The gameplay lets you constantly stay in control of this. For example, every scripted cutscene in the story can be started by attacking, fleeing, or just letting the scene play out. And those options tend to be available for a long way into the conversation, if not all the way through them. Furthermore, every character is killable, even the main ones. And all the presented factions are joinable, and some people can even be convinced to flip sides. And hell, if you want, screw the main quest. There are various jobs and quest lines from several quest givers, each tied to different groups and locations. Each with their own unique storylines and quest types, ranging from shady dealings to small-town vigilantism, to bounty hunting, to full-on faction battles. There's also many unique and random encounters when traveling, as well as secret bosses, weapon crafting, a dojo questline, side quests from regular NPCs, companions, and unmarked quests and secrets to find. Or, if you want to ignore all that, you can be a humble laborer and take up a job cutting vegetables or tuna in minigames. Set your own goal every new run. Every basic NPC, even those who exist mostly as cannon fodder, have a unique name, and usually unique dialogue, many of which I found myself forming attachments to. Like a Ronin with prayer beads who can be found roaming the town at day, but praying at the shrine at night. Or a mother and daughter who believe that their warrior father is dead, yet you can seek him out and reunite them. Or discovering why the two blacksmith brothers now hate each other, and deliver letters back and forth. What? You've never seen the sacred art of blacksmiths forging letters? I won't be spoiling the game in any large way in the video. I will, however, be recounting the story setup, the main factions, as well as a few minor spoilers of certain character endings and possible routes to take. But this isn't a game where spoilers matter in my opinion, since the entire gimmick of the game is the constant roleplay, replay, and freedom of choice. So revealing a faction can lose, or a character can die, isn't a spoiler, since they can all lose or die. You begin the game after a massive battle that has wiped out your entire army. You're now officially a Ronin, a samurai with no master or land, and you're left for dead, wounded and barely holding on. Some villagers who are looting the battlefield stumble upon you, and bring you to their village to heal you. You are told clearly when you awaken, however, that they don't really want you here, but begrudgingly they allow you to stay because the border is closed. But once it's open, get the hell out. From this point on, you are free to discover the world. The world is completely freeform, like, completely. No required talks, no required paths to take. You can run off to the dojo, to a shop, go left, right, forward, back, or just go and find tasks to do, like bounty hunting and busy work. The game has plenty of activities, too, from the aforementioned tuna and vegetable cutting, to others, like ringing a prayer bell in a cemetery for an old woman. There is an undeniable feeling of mystery to the game, based around the former clan, as well as the randomness of some encounters and NPCs. The remnants of the Sakurai clan are spread throughout the land. Some are open about their attachments and in full rebellion, and others still may be more stealthy, hiding their former relation and true loyalty until the moment is right. While exploring, though, you are guaranteed to run across one of the three factions. The first faction are the villagers of Takatane. Most of these villagers are loyal in some way to the former ruling clan of Sakurai, who are now cast down, but ultimately they want nothing but peace away from everyone else. The quests you do for them range from punishing crop thieves with blunt attacks, to finding lost children, to fighting off both of the other factions to keep the innocent common folk safe. The quest giver in the village is also an old lady pervert who will ask you repeatedly to find her panties, so there's that. The second faction is the Fujimori clan, who are now the dominant samurai of the land, after destroying Clan Sakurai. The Fujimori clan maintains peace in the area through the heavy hand of the law, and though on paper they keep this law, they're very much corrupt and push around the peasant folk. The lord of the Fujimori, Shuzin, is very similar to a Nobunaga style of character. He has high ambitions and will claw to reach them, regardless of the methods he has to use. The quests you'll be doing for them range from hunting down outlaws, to punishing fellow corrupt Fujimori members, to having a foot race with a job broker who doesn't trust you. The third faction is the Uka clan, who are bandits. Yet, some of their members have a Robin Hood streak to them, though some are just a looting, pillaging, marauding type. Their jobs are focused around fighting against Fujimori and their corrupt members, but also punishing anyone, including merchants and villagers, who speak against the Oka. Like the faction itself, a mixture of noble and dastardly acts. I will also say that there are paths that don't involve any of these three clans, as well as a kind of fourth faction. I won't say any more beyond that, though. Each of these questlines also have unique event quests, like rescuing a kidnapped girl who could become a companion, or doing a unique duel or assassination. Within these factions are distinct and unique characters who may not be what you expect, from stoic warriors to sniveling ninja to an angry warrior with a debt to settle. You can talk to them in the unique cutscenes, or choose to seek them out, visit them and grow rapport with them. Hell, you can find someone's true allegiance by just stumbling upon them at a shrine at midnight. This changes their daily routines and unlocks new things like training and more unique non-event conversations. It also changes how they respond in story moments by having taken the effort to befriend them, down to something as big as you now surviving an event you otherwise would have died in because they have your back. Outside of the individual people, you can also increase your reputation with each of these factions and lower them. Do a lot of jobs for them, be nice and talk to a lot of them, and they'll start loving you, shouting your name as you pass by them, and some even following you as adoring fans. If you upset them, however, they will curse your name and make rude gestures at you, and in the extremes of killing or working against them, they'll attack you on sight. These three factions are the main crux of the story, and you can choose to wipe one or the other, or even all of them out. This can be done by certain pre-made points in the main quest line, or just through your own actions. It is possible to join all of them and do all the basic job broker quests to see what you like the most, but eventually you will have to commit. Like I said earlier in the video, there are 28 distinct paths, and these require tons of combinations. I know I just keep listing things, but there's just so much to do. The freedom of choice could make an old school CRPG fan blush. The story is rather short, but its short length helps different paths feel truly unique, since they can have big events that are exclusive. Some routes done can be in as quick as 2 hours, though that is ignoring any side content, of which there is plenty. My first playthrough, where I did a lot of the side content, recruited some companions, crafted a few weapons, beat the dojo, and more, took me about 20 hours. One route, 20 hours. 27 more routes to go. Beyond this intense world simulation and story, Way of the Samurai 3 is a very intricate fighting game, with combos for every weapon type, from spears to different variations of swords, to mundane items and joke weapons. The game actually has a very simple mechanic, but one that feels so weighty. You actively have to press a button to draw your sword or to sheath it. If you draw it, people will react accordingly. People within the enemy faction will draw their weapons too, some will surrender and beg forgiveness. To stop violent encounters, you can sheath your weapon, run away, or attempt to apologize by bowing, sometimes stopping the fight. There's also a button pressed to make your weapons blunted, attacking with the flat, non-sharp end of your weapon, merely knocking your enemies unconscious. You can do this to get entirely different outcomes to quest lines, and several new endings, which means every person killed in the game is directly controlled by you all the way through. The choice to draw the sword, the choice to not run or apologize, and the choice to not blunt it. It means at every step of the encounter, you have the power of decision, always. In combat, you switch between swords and spears. Swords themselves have 7 distinct fighting styles, with over 750 skills to learn that function like fighting game combos with unique movements. You'll have to learn through trial and error while playing which damage and defense outputs pair well against other fighting styles. The combat within Way of the Samurai 3 may just be my favorite simulation of katana fighting in any video game, with amazingly punchy and smooth animations that feel distinct from one sword to the next. My personal favorite is the lower stance swords, which are so fast and acrobatic feeling, with loads of punches and quick slashes to try and stun lock your enemy. Sadly, the skill system is left largely unexplained, and with dozens of hours in the game, I still struggle to understand how certain skills work or what choosing one over the other does. There's also a blocking and parrying system. Personally, I found the blocking largely unreliable, though admittedly I almost always used high attack, low defense weapons. The parry at first may seem impossible, but please, I beg of you, stick with it, as it is the most satisfying thing to pull off in the game. Basically, the way it works is that you have to flash your block and release it at the exact time your enemy is going to hit you. This can be frustratingly difficult at first, but once you get the hang of it and begin recognizing enemy movesets, you'll be killing them non-stop, because succeeding in an instant kill causes a chain kill effect, and all you have to do is press the flash button on screen. The buttons, right, yeah. Now, I'm a PC player foremost, but when it comes to consoles, I prefer PlayStation, and I use my PS4 controller for my playthrough on Steam, but nothing I could find would let me display PlayStation buttons, but it really screwed me over in the minigames in moments like this. If someone could mod this game to have PS buttons be displayed, please make it. And the same goes for the recently re-released Kamiwaza Way of the Thief. The weird thing is, there are PlayStation versions of these games, but PC only has options for Xbox buttons. It's frustrating. There's no traditional leveling up in Way of the Samurai 3, but there are still increases in power that carry through every new Game Plus cycle. Weapons are arguably the most important, and any weapon you can see, even those on main characters, can be looted. There's also weapon crafting and improvement, and you can highly customize your own katanas and spears at the blacksmith. Aside from weapon upgrades though, the most direct level up style increase is through consumables in your inventory that increase your health. There are also new Game Plus unlocks, like new NPCs appearing after certain days passed, partners in your home to radiantly add money to your safe, new heads, costumes, and accessories to heavily customize your character too. These partners you can come across in the game, and they function as both companions and also potential romance housemates, who generate income as well as provide unique services, whether it be helping in a fight, or even being able to access your weapons safe while traveling. It also unlocks 2 more minigames, one where you can make mochi with them. You can anger these partners though, especially if you try and make 2 of them live at your house at once. No harem anime for you. If you do try and do this though, you'll have to track them down and apologize over and over dozens of times till they finally relent and forgive you. I will give you some advice now if you play the game though. It adores repetition. So if you find you are not getting an outcome you thought you would, like with the apology system, just keep doing it. Seriously, this game loves having you do like 30 things in a row, which can be annoying. Still though, the life and combat in this game is outstanding, with so much to see and do, amazing amounts of replayability, and new things to aspire to each time. The open world, much like the story, is very open, but the way it works is small zones connected by pathways that then lead into the next zone. Some of these zones, like the trading post, are very, very small, though others like the main town are fairly big, not massive, but a Bethesda-sized settlement, we'll say. One thing I can commend is the sheer aesthetic difference from faction to faction. You can tell at a glance who's with the Fujimori, or who's with the Uka, or who's a villager, or a traveler uninvolved in all this. And the same goes for their locations and headquarters. The Fujimori castle is pristine and borderline clinical feeling in its surface level order. Everything is where it needs to be, imposing but distant feeling. Whereas the Uka castle is disorganized, waste thrown this way and that, broken sections of the wall, ladders from previous sieges strewn about. Some areas are also just downright beautiful, my favorite being the road, with its tranquil graveyard, elder trees, waterfalls, and soft streams. It's a place I found myself going to relax when me and my character both needed a break from strife and worry. Which is funny, since it's also where I encountered the most random enemies. In general, I do just love the aesthetic of this period. This specific game, though, reminds me the most of two films, Seven Samurai and Yojimbo. In fact, Yojimbo seems to have been a massive influence on the plot. For those unfamiliar, in Yojimbo, Ronin finds himself in a town torn apart by two main factions. The townsfolk unfairly abused in the middle. Sound familiar? The main character spends the film jumping between allying with and working against both factions simultaneously, which is a route you can absolutely take in this game. In some scenes, plotlines, and characters seem to be heavily inspired by the Hidden Fortress. I would say more, but that would just be going into straight spoiler territory. So for those who wanted a playable Kurosawa game, this is it. And also Ghost of Tsushima. But still, this is a good smaller scale Kurosawa, like Seven Samurai, Rashomon, or Yojimbo. Ghost of Tsushima is closer to the large scale epics of something like Ron, Throne of Blood, or Kagemusha. While the world is excellent, Way of the Samurai 3 is a mixed bag in terms of the fidelity of its graphics. The majority of the time, I'm someone who overlooks graphics for the gameplay and story, so I tend to not be the best when talking about graphics objectively, but I can admit that this game has some ugly parts to it. So much of the world feels under-designed, and the interiors of buildings are sometimes completely barren and feel incomplete. And the way the world connects is underwhelming. The trading post in particular is my least favorite spot in the game, as it had tons of potential to be this interesting long street with side alleyways and shenanigans going on. But as it is just a very small section. Aside from that though, on a positive note, the traveling does feel like you're going around a real historical Japanese province. You'll become intimately familiar with these side roads and back streets. As someone who is from the rural countryside, I love the feeling of becoming familiar with navigating a small tract of land, knowing what turns to make, which landmarks, and where everything is. Finding the item that spawns here, or the merchant that goes here, it makes for a very engaging open world despite its shortcomings. The sound is also excellent. The sounds of battle are identifiable and suck you in. The music mixes historical instruments with modern elements like electronic distortion, and the Japanese voice acting is excellent. Everyone gives a quality performance, some even being surprisingly unique, like the bandit Lord Genjuro. I expected him to sound all big and dumb and scary, but he actually talks in a low, calm, and scheming voice, which immediately makes him more interesting.
お前も今日から大加藤の一員だ。中には変わったやつもいるが、基本的に自由に楽しくやるってのが信条だ。
For a few more negatives, I have already mentioned some of the graphical shortcomings, but there are more beyond that. While the game can be complex and long, there is no denying that if you just add up the main story content, it is very little for just one route. That is, unless you know to constantly return, do side things in between, and look for the unique conversations. Oh, and also don't you dare sleep, because there is a lot of important conversations that happen at night. Doing the Radiant job quest, however, increased the perceived scale of the main quest, and as such I would advise you, please don't rush the main quest. Take your time in the world. Through spending that time on side activities, quests, conversations, and exploration, become immersed. So when you finally do commit to a main story moment, it feels that much more important and earned. The game actually isn't timed. Going into it I thought that it was, but you can spend over a year in the game's universe or just 4 days. Also, I must say, some of the job Radiant quests aren't that fun. Like having to slowly nudge the old woman like a Bethesda NPC to a certain location. Or one where you have to investigate 3 identical people and figure out which of them is a thief. And the way that you figure out which of them are is that one of them likes cats. So you have to follow them, who are spread across the map in different areas, and listen to their ambient dialogue over and over again, some of them just being stomach rumbling and sneezing, until finally, 10 minutes in, one of them says he needs to get catnip. It's torture. And there are only so many quests, so you will be repeating them fairly often. But a unique one does appear occasionally, and those are awesome. Through trial and error, you will find which of these quests are your favorite, and which will make you instantly say no to. Simply leaving the area and returning makes a new random quest appear, so feel free, absolutely, to decline a job offer, and then just leave and return for a new one. The game can also be annoyingly obtuse in its systems, like the dozens of apologies you have to make while returning for a new job, or the unexplained combo system, but even small things build up, like the fact there is no option to load a game while playing it. You can save your game at these BWA players, but there is no exit to the main menu or loading option. So you either have to quit to the desktop and boot the game up again, die, or go to the map and click Leave Amana, which will treat it as a failed game and prompt you into New Game Plus, which you'll just have to skip through to get back to the main menu to reload. The game and its story and what it has within it is very strong, but as I keep saying, I just wanted more. Another point or two on the map would have helped a lot, or even just making some of them bigger like the trading post. And also just more quest variety, more dialogue with the characters. Way of the Samurai 3 overall, though, is unique and pretty damn great. There really aren't many other games like it, aside from Acquire's other games and the recent Rise of the Ronin. But to me, they still don't achieve this perfect Goldilocks zone of the snug and close-knit, low-scale feeling of Way of the Samurai 3. There are other Way of the Samurai games, but like Rise of the Ronin, they're set in later time periods in Sengoku Japan. In Sengoku Japan, as Way of the Samurai 3's setting is what draws me more to it than, say, Way of the Samurai 4. The world and characters feel alive, the combat is beyond entertaining with a gravity to even the act of pulling a sword out. The story in New Game Plus is a treat due to how many characters, factions, paths, and endings there are, as well as unlocking new outfits and characters. Booting the game up to give it another run is always an exciting experience where you will assuredly come across something new. I could genuinely draw this map by memory on a piece of paper at this point. For those who love dynamic stories in games, immersive world, the Sengoku period, and just good sword-fighting combat, you have to give it a shot. Just keep in mind there is some jank, but jank means soul to me. A big thank you to my two patrons, Fred Greisen and Mateo Feo, both on the Kindred Eccentric tier. You both are beyond generous. Getting support like this, as well as those in the comments, makes all this worthwhile. I also got an anonymous donation of $10 on Ko-Fi, so you know who you are, and thank you so much as well. If the rest of you are interested, there is a new exclusive video on my Patreon. A personal anecdote on fantasy and its meaning to me, using the story of two games that I adored as a kid, Champions of Norrath and Oblivion, and how the evolution of me jumping between those two games made me realize how complex both fantasy and video games can be. I plan to do more of these exclusive Patreon videos now that I actually have people on there. And also as an extra, there is a very big cut part of the script that I'll be putting on Patreon when this comes out. When I wrote this script, I also originally wrote a role-played narrative to recount at the end, similar to what I've done for some of my other videos like Devil Spire, to show one of the many paths you can go on in the game, but this segment quickly ballooned in size. For comparison, the script without it, which is what is in this video, is 11 pages on Google Docs. But with the roleplay added, it goes all the way up to 28. So if you're interested in reading that, it'll be on my Patreon. If this video garners a lot of interest, however, I'm not at all opposed to making a companion video to this that goes over a spoiler-filled playthrough with my character, with both roleplayed segments of the story and some more general review things. Anyways, again, just wanted to say, the kindness of these last videos have been insane. I love knowing that people enjoy what I say and what I make, and so if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. I say it often, but hearing what people think in the comments is my favorite thing about this, but I say it so often because I mean it. Anyways, this has been your Resident Eccentric, and I will see you again. Farewell.
A little bird told me that you've been asking around town about a resident eccentric. I'd like to know why.